Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Dallas Social Toastmasters. It is 12/10. That is December 10th of 2020. This is our last meeting and the only time during the week that you will catch me wearing pants. So we are doing our final meeting tonight. I'm going to go over just a couple of quick things, including the agenda. But before I do that, we have got all of our roles assigned. It looks like we've got almost everybody here. We're hoping our Toastmaster makes it in. He's having some internet issues at the moment, it looks like. With regard to our agenda, of course, we'll be going to DallasSocialToastmasters.com, which is our website. And from there, if you go over to the members section, the third column, and click on current agenda, it will bring up this agenda for tonight, which describes what we will be talking about and all of the roles for all of our participants tonight. Also, if you are looking for someone to give you assistance tonight, I will be your Zoom coordinator. I do have a couple of other duties that I'm doing, so I may get a little bit busy, but if you have problems, chat to me and hopefully I can get you working and get everything back to normal for you so that you're doing well. Up in the upper right-hand corner, there's also a view button. The view button will allow you to select between speaker view or gallery view. Speaker view, of course, is a view which changes with whoever is speaking at the moment. Gallery view will show you everyone at the time. At the moment, we have 9 people, which means you will be able to see everybody on the screen at one time. If we go over 9, that may or may not continue to be the case. So look for other people who are off. In general, I'm going to try to keep people muted if necessary to keep the noise level down. And that is unfortunate, but that also causes us to do like this for applause because we don't have any other mechanism to do that when we're all on mute. It looks like I am now beginning to see our Toastmaster of the evening, Mark Sims. I believe that concludes what I need to do as Zoom facilitator get us started. Mark, please take it away as our Toastmaster for the evening.
Thank you so much. And I'm very glad to be here. I'm sorry it took about 20 minutes for my computer to connect to the meeting. But tonight's theme is Christmas highs and lows. And this time of the year, when you think about Christmas, think about beautiful snow-covered countrysides if you live in that part of the country. You think about a sleigh ride together for 2. You think of the memories of family and friends and gifts. All these wonderful memories come to mind. And then there's another side too. You think about arguing politics with Uncle Frank at a Christmas gathering. You think about the fielding questions for the umpteenth year in a row on why you're not married. Or you think about the money you've spent. I had an uncle who for years would refer to Santa Claus as that old man that says, ho, 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 give me all your money. Now, when I think about my childhood, I have some wonderful memories of times with family and extended family. Some of them that are no longer with us. Think about the gifts that Mom would give me, like getting a bicycle one year, and my first TV set another year. A couple of other more unusual memories come to mind. Like, for example, I remember on one side of the family, I have an Aunt Doris that each year would bring a snack, pimento cheese sandwiches, and they look nasty. And I would think I was hungry, and then I would approach the tray of snacks, and then I would back off. And I'm not sure that anyone ever actually ate one of them. I think they just sat there. I'm not sure that after 1970, if she even made another one, she may have just recycled them each year. And then I think of another memory where all the family is in the kitchen talking, having a great time, and a mischievous, curious cousin of mine who liked guns found one, shot it into the wall, and everyone jumped a foot off the ground. So definitely, when you think of Christmas, there are pros and there are cons. And obviously, I would never make jokes about the celebration of the birth of Jesus, but the rest of it is fair game. and I'll get into some of the Christmas highs and lows here in a few minutes. But right now, I'd like to introduce our duty holders. Our timer is Rob Giles. So Rob, would you please explain your role?
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster. As your timer, I'm here to help all the prepared speakers, the table topic speakers, and the evaluators try to stay on time as far as their time objectives are concerned. Because in life, and especially in Toastmasters, you can only speak for a certain amount of time, and you need to be concise and learn how to be concise. And it's an important aspect, not only in Toastmasters, but in life. So for the prepared speakers, the time objectives for them is 5 to 7 minutes. And when each participant reaches 4 minutes and 30 seconds, they will qualify. However, I will not show the green until they reach 5, at which point you will see a green background from me. When they reach 6 minutes, you'll get the yellow background. And then at 7 minutes, the red background, in which case you have 30 seconds to wrap things up. After that, there is the table topics and the topic contestants. They have 1 to 2 minutes. They must meet 1 minute in order to qualify, and they will get the green at 1 minute. They will get the yellow at 1 minute and 30 seconds. And then at 2 minutes, they get the red, in which case they do have 30 seconds to try to wrap things up if they haven't already. And then for our evaluators, it's 2 to 3 minutes. Now for them, they do have a 30-second under, I guess, grace period, where they can go 1 minute and 30 seconds. And if they've done that, they qualify on time. But when they reach 2 minutes, they get the green. 2 minutes and 30 seconds, they get the yellow. And then at 3 minutes, they get the red, in which case they, again, just like the others, have 30 seconds to wrap things up. I will give reports as called upon by the various big three throughout the meeting. And back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Our next duty holder is the posture monitor, which is me. And I'll be alert for any types of body language, any gestures, anything that might detract in a nonverbal sense from the quality of your communication. I'll make notes of that. And also I'll be looking for any expressive gestures that are really helpful. Our next duty holder is Dagan Newland, who's performing the roles of odd counter and grammarian. So Dagan, please discuss your roles.
All right, for odd counter, I'll be looking for those filler words like I just did, the ums and you knows and things like that. So any kind of filler word and already kind of pregnant pauses, while you're trying to think of something else to say, that I will make notes of those throughout the meeting and give my report at the end of the meeting about that. And as grammarian, my duty is to look for any kind of, bad uses of the English language and good uses of the English language, and make notations throughout the meeting, and also give the word of the day, which today's word of the day is going to be mitzvah. So mitzvah means is a noun. It means any good or praiseworthy deed. So remember, we must use the word mitzvah during table topics to qualify for table topics. But if you can, please feel free to try to fit that in throughout the meeting when you can. But otherwise, you must use it during table topics to qualify. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Dagan. Our vote counter is John Vessels. John, would you please explain your role?
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, guests. The vote counter's job is exactly what it sounds like. I'm going to count the votes at different times during the meeting. You will be asked to vote for who you thought did the best job in that category. And at that time, you will send a private email to me through the chat window and let me know who you thought did the best job, like for table topics, speaker, evaluator, and best of the big three. I will not vote unless there is a tie, and then I will be the tiebreaker, but I will not announce that there was a tie at the time. Back to you, Mark.
Now, obviously, getting back to our theme of Christmas highs and lows, there are numerous things that we all cherish about Christmas. And on www.mic.com, they had a list of things we all appreciate about Christmas. And these are things we can all relate to. Obviously, the Christmas trees are beautiful. The Christmas lights, although I've never seen fit in my adult life on my house is to put up Christmas lights. I always enjoy the hard work of other people. Having time off, hot chocolate, ornaments, parties, eggnog, charitable giving, which is a great time of the year to remember to be sensitive to the needs of others. Christmas music, old Christmas music, movies, and one time in my life, I've watched It's a Wonderful Life from start to finish. Other times, I've just seen bits and pieces of it. It's a classic, but it probably would get overloaded on that this time of the year. Presents, including ugly sweaters. I saw something today in the Wall Street Journal about ugly sweater contest in virtual office parties. And this final one that people were grateful for, I think could be a double-edged sword. It's mistletoe. Well, that could be really nice, or it could be, you might be a child and see Aunt Martha, 400 pounds with the mustache under the mistletoe. As the older adults used to say to me when I was little, come here and give me some sugar. And you might not be as keen to do that. So again, these are some of the wonderful things for the most part that we appreciate, that we cherish about the Christmas celebration. This moment, we want to head into our prepared speeches. Our first speaker is Rob Giles. He's going to be evaluated by John Vessels. So John, would you please introduce Rob's speech?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Rob is doing a speech called Rod Hodder's Fantasy Football Solutions. It is 5 to 7 minutes. It is a speech given for the purpose of just to do a speech on any topic, to receive feedback and apply that feedback when he redoes the speech at a future date. And that's it. Back to you, Mr. Sims.
Thank you. So please help me welcome Rob Giles, Rod Hodder's Fantasy Football Solutions. Rod Hodder's Fantasy Football Solutions by Rob Giles.
Currently on mute.
Welcome to the social. My name is Rod Hodder, and I'm here to help you when your fantasy is going down the tubes. Now, I know a lot of you are big into fantasy football, so let me ask you a big question for everybody out there. By a raise of hands, I want to know how many of you have 2 or more fantasy football teams this year? How many? Raise it. Okay, that's what I thought. Because guess what? I only got 1, too. I only got 1, and that's it. And what I want to do is I want to go ahead and tell you ways that you can improve your fantasy life. Because we know the great and awesome Aldo Nova once said, life is just a fantasy. But guess what? Sometimes that fantasy doesn't go how you plan it. And sometimes you have to go ahead and actually figure out that life can be great, but not so great in fantasy. And you have to do something. You have to take action. You have to find answers. And I am here to help you with those answers. So listen up. The first thing that I want to tell you about is one, when you got a player who seems to be maybe taking it easy all year. So let's say that maybe you got somebody great like Joe Namath or Joe Montana, maybe even Captain Comeback, Roger Staubach. Maybe you have those guys who are doing great, but maybe you got somebody named, you might know this guy, Tommy Brady. Maybe you know about Tommy Brady, but he actually is one of those guys that sometimes he takes the time off. Oh, I don't have to do stuff. I don't got to do that or this. Well, that might be affecting your fantasy football team, and that might affect your fantasy. And when it does, well, there's something you can do. You can go ahead and turn on the tube. When your team is going down, turn on the tube. You can find a lot of great stuff out there. It's not like the old days when you just have Rifleman and Bonanza and even, let's say, a Happy Days. Hey. But guess what? There's now reality TV. And you might not know this, but there's a guy out there named Tommy Brady, and he's got his own little show called The Brady Bunch. Now, you might like that show. Maybe you don't. I don't know. But there's a lot of great TV. Go out and watch it. Figure that out. And then you can just relax, enjoy. Now, the other thing is that maybe your team is tanking. They're taking it easy and they're going to just, that's it. They're done for the year. But guess what? You can get out and do something yourself. Go exercise. Get out there in real life and actually get exercising. And that can help you out a lot too. Now, maybe you don't want to be outside because your fantasy is actually exercising and you want to get inside when you're doing your fantasy. Get on that treadmill. You can do it. Just make sure you stay inside when you're doing that fantasy. But that's another thing you can do. The third thing that you can do is to go ahead and when your team seems to be doing okay, but finally you have one thing that you got to do. You got to get to the championship. And sometimes the only way to do that is to break through, and you can't do it because your fantasy team just isn't doing what you want them to do. But guess what? You can always reach out to other people. We got this thing called Zoom. And on Zoom, you can talk to your family and your friends. Maybe some of them have some advice almost as good as mine that they can give you about your fantasies. But what I want to tell you is that you can touch base with everybody. You don't have to be in front of them. Get rid of the mask. Talk to them on Zoom. So those are the things that you can do when your fantasies are going down the tube. So that's what I'm here for, just to help you, because we all know it. We don't have to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'm awesome. I know what I'm doing when it comes to fantasies. So when it's not so good, Tommy Brady's not playing so well or not playing at all, watch a little TV. Or when your team is tanking, then go ahead and get some exercise, even if it's fantasy inside. And then thirdly, reach out to your help, your friends, your family. That can help too. Those are great ways for you. Doesn't matter whether it's fantasy football or whatever fantasies you got. You can do that. And then who knows, maybe your life will be a little bit better and you can have something that will actually be allowing you to have a fantasy life that's great and a real life that's even better. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Rob. That's very interesting, very imaginative too. Would not have thought about that. Kind of reminds me of the costume you had for the Halloween last year when you came up dressed as a rocker. Our next speaker is Munish Gupta. He is being evaluated by Mark Schroeder. Mark, would you please discuss Munish's speech?
Certainly, and thank you, Mark. He is going to be doing a speech from the Persuasive Speaking Manual. This particular speech has as its goals to deliver a well-organized, persuasive speech on any topic. He can choose to appeal to emotions, ethics, or logic in his speech. It may be humorous, informational, or any style that he chooses to speak tonight. And it should not be a report on the content of the project itself. His time is going to be 5 to 7 minutes.
So please help me welcome Munish Gupta, speaking on negative thinking, Munish Gupta.
For many, negative thinking is a habit which over time becomes an addiction. Mind job is to think. Mind is going to think. If our mind is free, then mind will go negative. Either it will think about past people, those who have harassed us, tortured us, gave us cold shoulder, or think about future, which is not certain what is going to happen. It won't think about present. I observed about myself, when do I think negative? When I brush my teeth, I'm brushing my teeth. I've been doing it from my childhood. So here I do not have to use my brain. That time my mind goes negative. When I take a shower, there I do not have to use my brain. I've been doing it from my childhood. My mind goes negative. Physically, I'm taking a shower. Mentally, my mind is thinking negative somewhere else. When I'm driving, I'm going from my office to home, home to office. My mind thinks negative because it's autopilot. I do not have to focus. It's my everyday routine. My wife, whenever she serves me food, I start eating. My mind goes negative. My wife is a brilliant cook. She finds some videos on YouTube to cook immensely super sumptuous food for me. But my mind goes negative and I start eating. Long ago, I read that while eating, we should never read or watch TV. That I don't do, but I've seen many people do it. But my mind goes negative. I don't enjoy the food. And when I start, I finish the food. One topic is there, that topic remains in my mind. I keep on thinking about that topic. For that, I recently read that whatever we do in our life, whether I'm brushing my teeth, taking a shower, driving, or eating a food, I should focus only that thing which I have been doing it. Sometimes we start imagining a story negative ways, that I have a daughter, what's her future, what will she do about her education, about her school education, college education, about her job, about her marriage. These are the imagined stories. We should never think. We should think only about present. Some of the memories are fixed in our mind. Somebody harassed us, tortured us. Those memories are fixed. When those people comes in front of us, we recall and we start thinking negative. Somebody would have taken the money from us and that person do not return the money. When that person comes in front of us, our mind goes negative. This man has taken the money, he didn't return the money. But we can think positive too also. Because of this man, we have become smart. Because of this man, we stopped giving money to people. I own a newspaper, and in our country, there is no democracy. whenever we break any story of any police officer, politician, bureaucrat, when we publish a story against any police officer, that police officer harassed us, tortured us. And when we see his photograph in the newspaper sometime, he talk about police public friendly. But we know what he has done with us. That time, entire day, maybe our mind goes inactive. We are helpless, we can't do anything because he is not accountable to anybody. When we break the story of any politician, that politician hit us below the belt. And when we hear that he preaches people about democracy, we know there is no democracy, there is autocracy. And that day, if we see him somewhere, our mind goes negative. We keep on thinking about that person. If we break the story of a bureaucrat, and if we have any work in this bureaucrat office, if any file is stuck, and that bureaucrat will not move that file, he is vindictive. He will take the revenge. But we are helpless. We can't do anything. Because in our country, nobody is accountable. For that, when we can't do anything, we should leave it on karma, that God will give the punishment. We should live our life. Life is too short, which COVID-19 taught us. Negative thinking is harmful for our body. For many, negative thinking is a habit which over time becomes an addiction. Dalai Lama said. Over to the Toastmaster, please.
Thank you very much, Manish. It's very good. I'd like to ask Rob Giles if our speakers qualified on time. You're on mute, Rob.
Thank you, Mark. Yes, both speakers qualified on time. Manish at 6:22 and Rob at 5:12.
Super. In that case, please send your vote to John Vessels by private chat for either Rob or Manish. And I will do likewise.
I'm sorry, who is vote counter?
John Vessels.
John Vessels.
Yes. And now, of course, Christmas for many people is just a wonderful time of the year. Some people have some issues with it though. And I've consulted a few websites that came up with a few dislikes that people have. And one of them is Christmas music that never stops. And I can understand if you're in a situation where you're hearing it all the time, they get a little old. Actually doesn't bother me as much. But if you're in a position like in a store where the same track plays over and over again, I could see that. There are some challenges if you are of a different faith. Let's say if you were Jewish religion and you might not want to hear about the celebration of the birth of Christ. Overeating, overgifting can be an issue. Obligatory family gatherings. I mean, for some people, it's something you cherish. For some people, it may be something you have to negotiate. Retail environments where maybe you're fighting with someone else to get that big screen TV for $100 on Black Friday, or having a terrible time parking. And these last two items, they were on the list of dislikes, and for both of these, I respectfully disagree. One of them is the office party. Now, this year, most people are rightfully so are not having in-person office parties. But one thing that comes to mind for me is in all these years, I've never been at an office party at Christmas that really went bad. I've only been at gentlemanly, sedate, genteel affairs. There was actually a few years ago a movie that came out just before Christmas called Office Christmas Party, about a really raucous party that I wish I could attend something like that. I mean, I don't drink, but I almost wish I could wake up the day after the office party and think, oh, my head hurts. And by the way, do I still have a job? So at least one time in my life, go to an out of control office party, but not yet. And then the final dislike someone had is hearing Mariah Carey too much. I mean, undoubtedly, they're talking about her song, All I Want for Christmas Is You. Doesn't bother me. I mean, I totally know that all she wants for Christmas is definitely not me. But hey, the thought is nice. So, Mariah, keep on singing. I'll keep on pretending. And in conclusion, enjoy your time with family and friends at Christmas. Enjoy the best parts that you cherish. Navigate, negotiate the other parts. And above all, have a Merry Christmas. And with that, we will head into the table topics portion of the meeting, and that's going to be conducted by Lee King. Lee.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. This is Table Topics, the impromptu speaking portion of this meeting. The theme this evening is essentially Christmas. So I've thought of a number of questions that pertain to Christmas in some form or fashion. Just as a reminder, the table topics must be answered in a minimum of 1 minute, but no more than 2.5 minutes. And can we have our grammarian review the word of the day for us, please?
Once again, it is mitzvah, and it is any good or praiseworthy deed. So mitzvah.
All right, thank you. Every year, I see different types of Christmas decorations, flags, things to decorate, make things look like the holidays. Sometimes those decorations tend to be a review of the year. And actually, this particular thing I noticed was a flag. It had the Grinch with some Christmas bulbs. And on the different Christmas bulbs, when you read the whole flag, the Grinch said, "Year of 2020, stink, stink, skunk." Which made me wonder, how would you summarize the year 2020 in such an eloquent way as the Grinch did? Kim.
Quick reminder, make sure that you have Rob Giles, your timer, visible.
I'm not sure if she heard you.
Kim? Did you hear me? Or I think you're on mute.
And you may have to repeat the question.
Kim, did you
Can
hear
you-
my question?
We can hear you now.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. The question is, how would you summarize the year 2020 in such an eloquent way as the Grinch, in which he said the year 2020 stink, stink, skunk?
I would have to say that for most people, this will be a year that will definitely stand out. Maybe not in the most pleasant of circumstances, not like you're having a party, mitzvah, or however you celebrate. But I think the one thing I think that this has taught everyone is that the very basics to the very simple, being able to appreciate the day to day, appreciate being able to have a meal on the table, being able to have supportive family and friends, being able to feel healthy, and to be able to think about what's really important. Obviously, those things that you talked about, Mark Sims, earlier about Christmas memories. Yes, those are good memories. And we've all had our share of good memories. But ultimately, the fact that what is it that the holidays represent? And more often than not, it has to do with our basic beliefs and our basic philosophy of life, and be able to appreciate what we do have. That's my answer, Mr. Toastmaster. Table Topics Master, back to you.
Another thing that was mentioned about the holidays are holiday parties. And growing debate this year would be the office parties, because really the only safe type of holiday party would be a virtual party. The challenge that companies are having is getting commitment for people to attend a virtual party. So the question becomes, how can they allocate excuse me, expenses? Otherwise, how could they compensate their employees or somehow lure them and entice them to go to the holiday party? So my question is, first of all, is your company planning a holiday party? If so, if it is virtual, do you plan on going, or is there anything the company can do to lure you into attending a virtual party? Dagan.
Well, first of all, Christmas time, people do a lot of giving and, give out gifts and do good deeds. So really, Christmas is not the only time you should do any kind of mitzvah. That kind of stuff should be done, all year round, so just kind of think about that. But as for Christmas parties, normally we do have like a little Christmas party. Sometimes it's actually before Christmas, sometimes it's after Christmas, but we do end up getting together as a management team. It's usually just the managers and a key other associates, like the leads and things like that, where we do like we first of all we pre-pick names, and then we hang up stockings along the hallway of the office. Then we have like usually like a $25 maximum, but some people do a little more. But that's okay. Anyway, put the gifts in the stockings, and at the Christmas party, we open them up and we try to guess who our Secret Santa was, basically. That's a lot of fun. And, get together with some food and some, drink. Well, not an alcoholic drink because we're in the office, but this year that hasn't even been brought up. So there's been no mention of any kind of party, no mention of any kind of Secret Santas. And especially in my field, we're just working a little store. I can see somebody like John Vessels or Mark Schroeder, some of the other guys there would have like a virtual type meeting, but we're always seeing each other every day, so there's really no need to have a virtual meeting. But like I said, they haven't even brought up a meeting in general in the first place. So matter of fact, I won't be going because we haven't even brought it up. Back to you, Table Topic Master.
All right. What I find very interesting about this year is, generally speaking, a lot of times people talk about the holidays being a very stressful time of year. So much to do, not enough time to get it done in. Got to go shopping for a bunch of gifts, fighting the mall, fighting the crowds. And people actually have grown to not care for this time of year just simply because they say it's too stressful. However, in the year 2020, a lot of that is not happening. So people feel relieved this year and actually feel as if maybe they will enjoy their holiday more because it's certainly much simpler. Which begs the question, are you finding this holiday season stressful, or is it more of a relief? John.
Well, personally, I'm finding it, I think, a little more stressful. I can't do as much. I'm not seeming to shop very well. little shopping I did. My family is big, so we pick names, and that's your primary gift to, whoever your name is. And I've done that. And one of them I've got, and I'll have to mail it myself. But all the other gifts I've bought so far, I went ahead and just had shipped to them. But I haven't been like to the stores and really shopping in the stores and wrapping any presents. I got one present to wrap. I did my Christmas tree up, and that was fun, and that's nice. I always like it. But I haven't wrapped that one present to be under that tree. It may get put under there on Christmas Day. It's kind of looking bare right now with no Christmas gifts underneath it. But I still like to do some mitzvahs, some good deeds for my friends that I can do. I don't really get to see them, so everything's remote. But all in all, it's a little bit more stressful just because I have to do things differently. It's just not as easy and the same as it has been in years past. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster, Table Topics Master.
All right. Well, at this time, we are running just slightly behind schedule. To help us stay on track, I will pose table topics for this evening. Mr. Timer, did our 3 speakers qualify on time?
Mr. Topic Master, all 3 qualified on time. Kim at 1:32, Dagan at 1:53, and John at 1:23.
And Grammarian, did our speakers use the word of the day?
Yes, they did.
All right. Please vote for the best of our table topics contestants for this evening, which would be Kim, John, or Dagan. And I will now turn the meeting over to our general evaluator, which I believe is Tanya. Or yes, Tanya.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to begin this evening by calling on our evaluators for our 2 speakers. Our first speaker was Rob Giles, and his evaluator is John Vessels. John?
Thank you, Tanya. Rob Giles, or should I say Rod Hodder? Well, Rod, it was nice seeing you again, and I'm glad you made an appearance before Christmas. I want to say that I thought you did an excellent job this evening with your speech. I cannot imagine how you can stay in character through that whole thing. I would break half a dozen times. So let me just say things I thought you did really well about it. Your character is entertaining. He's funny. You really present your alter ego, Rod, very well. I think your speech was well organized. You had a topic. You opened it up, explained the situation. You presented us 3 options or 3 points on how we can get past fantasy football when it's just not meeting our needs. And all that was very good. And the wrap up, the closing part of your speech was excellent too. You brought it all back to point. Then we went back and reiterated our 3 options that you had for us to choose from. So all in all, well-organized speech, well presented, stayed in character. One thing you might improve on is get a mustache that sticks better. The other thing is, because I mean, you have to fool with it, do the meet, and it gets distracting, but no. And then I missed when it fell off. I look away for a second and it's back. It's like he shaved. Okay. Anyway, the other thing is, I guess we're all an old enough crowd to know who Joe Namath was and Joe Montana and Roger Staubach. Maybe you could fit a few more modern quarterbacks beside Tom Brady in the situation. But all in all, I thought that was funny. Also, your choice of TV shows, Wagon Train, Happy Days, and stuff like that. You haven't watched TV in a while, have you? So I guess, but for our crowd, I think everybody here gets it. And so that's cool and everything too. Maybe if you were to present this to a younger audience, you might go with somebody a little more current and, oh, even on the TV shows. But good material, good presentation, very inventive. And all in all, I thought she did an excellent job with that speech. And that's it, Miss General Evaluator.
Thank you. And our second speaker, Manish, was evaluated by Mark Schroeder.
Fellow Toastmasters, guests, and Munish, and also thank you so much to our GE. I'm going to use the 3-2-1 method in general to evaluate your speech tonight, which is three things at least that I thought were done very, very well, a couple of things for improvement, and then what I thought overall was the best part of your speech. Let me start with the fact that you, during this speech, have just amazing eye contact throughout the entire speech. Very, very strong presence. You used gestures throughout, including some repetitive ones. The gestures were also very, very descriptive and ever present, and there was absolutely no wasted motion in the gestures. Every one of them was purposeful. You have a very dramatic style. And a good example of that is the place where you said, because of this man, and you did that a couple of times, and there were just the vocal extremes in that and the pauses in between it, a very, very nice dramatic style. I thought all of those together were three of the really strong points of your speech. A couple of things that I did notice, and you are a very, very complex and well prepared speaker. So these are minor points, but things that I did notice. We all think of past and future, but of course, to me, that is left and right because time always goes to the right. And if I'm going to do it on camera, it then becomes past and future. You actually have to reverse it for you so that it is correct on camera. You did it exactly what would have been right for you, but it's wrong for us because we're facing you. So watch for that. And I noticed one time there was a verbal thing. I heard the phrase about present as opposed to about the present. You were missing the definite article in that sentence, it seemed to me. Minor thing, but certainly worth mentioning. The overall for the speech, however, you have got an incredibly nice, very well choreographed style between the gestures and the dramatic style, and especially the pauses. And in this particular case, the repetition that you used as well. Altogether, very well choreographed. This is the kind of speech that does very, very well in a contest. And I think that you should continue in that style, particularly if you intend to ever go to or take a speech to contest, because from my viewing of contests, it's exactly the right style. And you have got your voice and your body completely under control when you're on stage. Back to you, Ms. General Evaluator.
Thank you. So, Mr. Timekeeper, did both of our evaluators qualify on time?
Madam General Evaluator, yes, both of our evaluators qualified on time. John at 2 minutes and 53 seconds and Mark Schroeder at 2 minutes and 49 seconds.
Okay, at this time, we will either John Vessels or Mark Schroeder, and you will send that vote to John Vessels. Okay, so as a general evaluator, I will give you my evaluation of tonight's meeting. I would say this meeting was a mitzvah, that we're a small but mighty crew, and we were able to make up the time. We started about 6:53 because Mark had some technical issues, but I think we can all relate to that. We've all had to experience that before, and I think we did a great job of making up the time and making up the difference and getting back on the right schedule. Dagan, I really love your choice with words, mitzvah. Today is the first day of Hanukkah, Festival of Lights, so I think it's very appropriate also with our theme for the evening with Christmas highs and lows. And Mark, that was a great theme to help get us in the mindset of what we're about to experience Right now, we are all about to experience the highs and lows of this time of year as we get ready for the season, our holiday season. We had 2 speakers this evening and 2 good speeches. Manish was reminding us that it's important to think about the impact of negative thinking. And Rob, your speech was very entertaining with your costume and your demeanor. I have no idea what you were talking about, but I was very entertained by the speech. And congratulations, Rob, on making your time this evening. I'm so proud of you. That is awesome. Congratulations for you. So this evening was a very good meeting, and everyone did a really great job with pulling it together and everyone having an opportunity to participate this evening. At this time, I will ask for our duty holders to give a report. Let's start. Rob was our timer, and I think we'll start with Mark Sims, who is our posture monitor.
What I saw tonight was really very good examples of nonverbal expression. I did not really see any adverse movements or habits that would detract from the message. And this has been mentioned, but Rob, on your speech, the mustache, that was hilarious. I mean, if you ever give that speech, let's say for a contest, which would be great, I would encourage you to use the mustache that falls off because it is just so funny. There's actually a Three Stooges episode where they have a similar problem. And then you handled it really great when you took it off for good. That settled the issue. So that was a good response to a very unusual problem. And then Munish, Mark Schroeder brought this up very well, but your gestures are great. Standing up, you looked so imposing. And then the gestures for the driving and the eating and the brushing teeth, they were just very expressive and they got your points across very well. And this next part has nothing to do with your gestures, but it was funny you made reference to a bureaucrat that would not move a file. So we can probably all relate to that sometime in our life, either suffering because of that or we were that bureaucrat. It depends on which side of the desk you're on. But thank you for both of you gentlemen. The nonverbals were either very funny or very dramatic. And that's my report, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you. And tonight, Dagan Newland was our odd counter and grammarian. Dagan?
Okay, I'll talk about the odd counter first. And I was the worst offender tonight. I had several uhs and you knows and some so's that I even caught myself saying it after I did it. So, but there's Mark Sims, you had a couple of uhs, and so did you, John Vessels. Everybody else, I didn't really catch anything, so everybody did a good job on that. And as well with the grammarian, I think everybody spoke to their abilities that I know they speak to. I did not see anything really glaring or really stood out to me based on the way I know everybody speaks. So everybody did a good job there. And of course, you know, everybody used the word today in table topics, and a couple people used it outside of it. So please remember, if you can, you know, try to use that throughout the week until our next meeting that we have at least through the holidays, because it is kind of holiday related. You know, but also really the definition of mitzvah is any good or praiseworthy deed. Some people say it's mitzvah as a party, but really technically it's you know, any good deed or any good or praiseworthy deed. So just kind of remember that. And back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you. At this time, I will call a vote for the big three. Mark Sims as Toastmaster, Lee King as Table Topics Master, or myself as General Evaluator. And you will send that vote to John Vessels. And now at this time, I will hand over the meeting to our president for a business meeting.
Thank you very much. And a couple of pieces of business to go over. One is that, as Rob pointed out last week, TLI does start Saturday. And so I've signed up for the general session, the combined officer meeting, and the president's training on Saturday morning. So that's a great early start. And I'm going to encourage you, if you have an opportunity to do that, to be able to accomplish it. And Rob, did you need something?
I just wanted to ask, did you pay, or Dagan, did you pay for the club?
No, I have not, but if I need to do that, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, if Mark Sims has not, then we do need to do that.
No, I saw that and I was wondering how to handle it. So I just kept on registering. Now, if I try to get in and they say, sorry, Charlie, or sorry, deadbeat, I'd have to go back on at a future time.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't even think about that. So I'll
No.
go in and do that.
Thank you, Dagan.
No, thank you. And no, that's a good point, Rob. And I almost wonder if they're going to waive that because it's virtual as opposed to in person. I literally don't know.
They didn't waive it last, in July. They didn't waive it. At least I paid it in July, so I know that we paid
Okay.
at the club. Whether I didn't hear anything about waiving it.
Okay. And we got a response from Valerie Bartley on the club coach. She said that 12 was the magic number. If you've got 12 or above, then you're not eligible for a coach. I'm pretty sure with the math I was hearing last week was that we had 12. And we were working on the additional members, which obviously we still want to. So we can just continue to solicit to approach the folks that do have an interest in the club and just do the best we can in that respect.
To that end, by the way, I have been in contact with Caroline. And while she could not make it tonight, she does say that she is still interested and she is at least currently planning to join toward the beginning of next year.
Excellent. And Munish, you've been such an incredible addition on the meetings that you've joined. Then definitely, if you have an interest in joining us, I understand it can only be while we're meeting online. You'd be incredibly welcome because we have all benefited from your speeches. So, no pressure, but please do keep that in mind because we've enjoyed having you with us. And I guess next week we are having the virtual Christmas party. Again, it probably won't be a raucous affair, but it'd be nice to have that time. Is there anything else need to be said about that?
Yeah, details will come out shortly. It's going to be basically the same time next week during our normal time. And how raucous it is depends upon exactly how much alcohol you have in your house and how much clothing you're willing to walk past your camera in. We can make it as much as we have to. It's up to you. We can actually have that office party.
For those people.
Pardon?
Private breakout rooms for those people.
Private breakout rooms for those people. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Don't worry, I'll try and keep it fully clothed. So no one's injured mentally too bad. And let's see, is there any additional business that comes to mind?
It is and it isn't. There is one thing that I would like to mention. We are doing pretty good on getting people onto the groups.io group, which is the Yahoo replacement. Yahoo disappears as of December 15th, which means really this is our last meeting with Yahoo that is official. By the time we get to next week, it will already be gone. So somewhere this weekend, if I can push a couple more people on it, I think we ought to just convert over. I'll send out the email when we're ready. We did manage to get Kim on tonight. I think at this point, the only person that I need to push who often comes and is not officially a member anymore, that's Mark Haddad. So I'm going to see if I can get him on it. The other thing is, I would love the chance to go through with people just a little bit of how to use it tonight while we're all here. But I do not want to do it during the meeting because I will expose people's email addresses on the recording.
Oh,
So if we could, if anybody is interested in staying around for just a few minutes after the meeting so that I can go over just a couple of features of the groups.io, I would appreciate it for anybody that wants to see that.
okay, sure. Do that. If there is no additional business, we will hear from our vote counter, John Bessels, on the winners tonight.
Okay, tonight for best speaker, we have Manish Gupta. Best table topics went to myself. For evaluations, it was Mark Schroeder. And best of the big three goes to Tanya.
And absolutely, it was a very good job, Tanya. That we can sign off on the actual meeting, and anyone that wants to remain, very welcome to do so. So thank you all very much.
All right. Thank you. Stopping the recording in 3, 2,